Hello, everyone. It's Dave again. Time for another kind of weekly whatever I do. Um, Again, I thought I would go with some humor and some light-hearted stuff. So I wrote down just a couple of things that I remember from the days in pro wrestling. So for you who do not know me, I long ago went to a wrestling school run by Billy Jack Haynes in Oregon City, Oregon, and his head trainer was Coco Samoa. And that's who trained me to be a professional wrestler. Um, Neither one of them were good teachers. I don't think I saw Billy more than 4 times actually get in the ring and teach something. He would be there once in a while watching, but he didn't do a lot of the teaching. It was all on Coco, and we were all terrible when we graduated. Um, I did not wrestle because I broke my leg on the very last day of the class. So I was not involved in the first Oregon Wrestling Federation OWF shows. But I'm telling you this story for a different reason. One of the people who graduated at the time was Bad Boy Brian Brown. But we were terribly trained. We were awful. And when Billy Jack went out of business, Don Owens, I called Buddy Rose and Colonel De Beers and told them my situation, and they literally told me that Billy had trained me so poorly that he'd screwed me up so bad they couldn't unscrew me up. That's what I was told about my training. So if you wonder why I spend most of my time in the back office, that's why. I'm a trained professional wrestler, but I wasn't trained well. So let's fast forward to about 4 or 5 years after I graduated. I wanted to get a job as the marketing director of a new form of the Oregon Wrestling Federation. So I had arranged to go down and watch, the match and talk to the owner. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the matches. And Brian is in the ring. And I had seen him before the show, and this was literally his first wrestling match ever. Actually, after he graduated from school, Billy went out of business before he ever got a chance to do a match. So he's wrestling John Rambo, whose finishing kick is Sweet Chin Music. And Brian is hesitant because he wears combat boots. So as the big finish comes up, he gets swung into the ropes, he comes off the ropes, Rambo sticks his leg out, and he bumps a foot and a half too early. It is and then he sells it. He doesn't like point to his head how smart he was to avoid the kick, get back up and let Rambo kick him. No, he stays down like he actually got hit by the kick. Rambo is stunned. The audience is stunned. And out of the silence comes this childish voice saying, "Hey, could you guys make it look like it's a little bit real?" So I thought, based on that, I'd tell you some just kind of goofy stuff and kind of cool stories. So one of my favorite phrases in professional wrestling or moments is, reporter asked Macho Man Randy Savage if pro wrestling was real or if it was fake. And Macho Man told them, "Well, it's fake when I lose, and it's real when I win." That, my friends, is the best answer ever. A story I heard, this is not one of my own, one of the guys said it to me, kind of sent it off, and I thought it was a really good story. So, Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett's father, was a wrestler and a wrestling promoter. And he and Jackie Fargo were out late after a match, after midnight, and they were tired and a little intoxicated. And they were semi-regulars at this place. They knew the guy. And, he had always been kind of hesitant to come up to him, right? Well, one day he just can't resist it anymore, and he comes up and he says, guys, I know that, there's some stuff about wrestling I don't really understand. But I want to know, how do you do the blood? How do you do all that fake blood? Because I know that blood isn't real. And Jackie Fargo says, "Well, what do you mean you don't think the blood is real? Of course the blood is real." He says, "No, you couldn't do that. With the blood." He said, how do you do that? And he said, so Jarrett had just had enough. and even though this is the height of where they were hiding secrets called kayfabe about wrestling, he'd had enough of this guy. So what he said was, well, you take a pair of scissors and you cut a razor blade and you wrap it in a piece of tape and then you put it in your mouth. During the match, when it's time for you to bleed, you pull the blade out. Your opponent covers the move for the audience for you. You unwrap the razor blade. You cut your head open until you got as much blood as you want. Then you wrap the razor blade up and you either put it back in your mouth or you drop it in your tights. And the guy said, "Hey, look, you could have just told me you weren't going to tell me. You didn't have to make up some kind of crazy story. All right?" And he stomped off mad. So that, I think, is awesome. So I've got 2 Scott Levy stories. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Scott Levy has had many personalities as a wrestler. His famous one, though, is probably Raven. That's the one that really took him to the top. But before that, he had a number of aliases, and he was coming back to the Pacific Northwest to wrestle Al Madril. So Al Madril cuts this awesome promo on him where he says, "You know, Saturday night, I'm going to beat 3 men. That's right, 3 men. Johnny Polo, Johnny Flamingo, Scotty the Body. You're all going down." I thought that was pretty great. I hope these are funny. I don't know, because I have no laugh track. Now, the second Raven story, Scotty the Body story, is one that I really like. It's got a lot of rumors and stuff. I heard the story from the photographer who took the pictures. I've also heard that Roddy Piper is the one who suggested that Scott do this. So when Scott was Scotty the Body, he took a picture of himself going like this. And then he had the announcer show the picture on the ring and say that the picture was for sale at the concession stand. With which Scotty the Body went nuts and said, "If anybody buys that picture, I'm going to sue you." Well, immediately after that, they started calling him Snotty the Body, right? Well, according to the photographer, the best-selling pictures he ever did, $50 in a night. That's how many they sold. They sold $5,000 worth that night. And the next week, when he came out and everybody was chanting Snotty the Body and holding up the pictures, he had a pencil and a piece of paper, and he was running around demanding that people give them their name and him their name and phone number so he could sue them. So then the next week after that, sales were insane. So he took a picture-taking gimmick where nobody made any money, and he made a lot of money with it. So right on Scotty. And then I'm just gonna look at my notes here and see which one of my final stories I want to tell you. I think I already did. So then the last story is just me doing these silly videos. If you like them, if you like stuff about professional wrestling, let me know and I'll do one once in a while. If not, yeah, to hell with you. I love you. I'll see you next week. Bye now.